The morning sunlight spilled across the kitchen tiles, landing softly on the blue balloons that Emily had taped to the cabinets the night before. The house smelled of frosting and vanilla. The sound of Noah's laughter, high, excited, and unguarded, echoed through the small living room as he tore through a pack of colorful streamers. "Slow down, birthday boy," Emily said, laughing as she struggled to hang the final banner that read, "Happy 8th birthday, Noah." He grinned, a gap-toothed smile that melted her heart. "Mom, do you think Grandma will come early? She always brings the biggest gifts." Emily's hands paused mid-air. She forced her voice to stay light. "I'm sure she'll be here soon, sweetheart." She promised, remember? She turned away before Noah could see her expression. Her mother hadn't answered her last few texts. Not about the time, not about the cake, not even when Emily sent a picture of Noah's handmade invitations. But she didn't want to ruin his excitement. Not today. It had taken weeks of saving from her receptionist job to make this party happen. She'd skipped lunches, worked extra hours, and bought the cake on sale the night before. Chocolate with blue frosting, Noah's favorite. His classmates were coming later, but she wanted family there first. Just for him to feel surrounded, loved, and celebrated. By noon, the table was set. Paper plates, balloons tied to every chair, and a stack of goodie bags she'd filled herself. Noah had changed into his birthday shirt, the one with a rocket ship and the words, "Blast off to 8," and kept peeking through the window every few minutes. "Maybe they're running late," he said after the third glance. "Maybe," Emily said softly, checking her phone again. The screen stayed dark, no calls, no messages. At 1 o'clock, the silence began to feel heavy. Noah's smile dimmed, and Emily tried to fill the air with chatter. They played his favorite song, danced a little, and blew up extra balloons. At 2, she texted her mother again. "Hey, just checking if you're on your way. Noah keeps asking for you." The message showed, "Delivered." No reply. By 3, the candles on the cake had melted into crooked shapes. The frosting had started to droop in the warm air. The only sound was the hum of the refrigerator and Noah's small voice asking if maybe they forgot the time. Emily swallowed hard. "You know what? Let's not wait anymore. Let's make a wish right now," he nodded quietly. Together they lit the candles. The room looked so beautiful in that moment, warm and glowing, filled with hope that didn't deserve to be crushed. "Make a big wish." "Buddy," she whispered. He squeezed his eyes shut and blew them out. "What did you wish for?" she asked gently. He smiled shyly. "That next year everyone comes." Her chest tightened and she had to turn away to keep her voice steady. "That's a good wish." They cut the cake together, and when she offered him the first slice, he said, "Save some for Grandma and Aunt Lily, in case they come later." "Okay," she said, though she knew they wouldn't. Hours passed. Dusk began to settle outside, painting the sky in streaks of orange and pink. No one came. Not a single car pulled into the driveway. Not a single phone rang. At 7, her elderly neighbor, Mrs. Dawson, knocked gently on the door. "I saw the decorations, dear," she said kindly. "Mind if I pop in for a piece of cake?" Emily's throat caught. "Please do." Mrs. Dawson sat with Noah, complimenting his decorations, listening to him talk about his favorite superhero. She even sang him a small off-key birthday song, and for those few minutes, the house felt alive again. When Noah ran off to show her his toy car collection, Mrs. Dawson leaned toward Emily and whispered, "You did a wonderful job, dear. Don't you let anyone make that boy feel unloved." Emily nodded, fighting back tears. "Thank you," she whispered. After Mrs. Dawson left, the house grew quiet again. The blue balloons had started to droop, and a few had already popped. Noah was curled on the couch, his eyelids heavy but his voice small. "Mom?" he murmured. "Do you think they forgot?" She sat beside him and pulled him close. "No, sweetheart. Grown-ups just get busy sometimes? Too busy for birthdays?" Her voice trembled. "Sometimes, yes." He yawned and drifted off against her shoulder, his little hand still clutching a piece of ribbon. She carried him to bed, kissed his forehead, and tucked him under the blanket. When she came back to the living room, she stood there for a long time, staring at the half-eaten cake, the untouched presents, the cold plates of food. Her phone screen glowed in the dark, still empty. She sat at the table, running her hand over the banner's wrinkled edge. The words, "Happy Birthday," looked almost cruel now, hanging above the remnants of a celebration that only one person had truly shown up for. A tear slipped down her cheek, landing on the tablecloth. She wiped it away and whispered to the empty room. Never again. The house fell silent, except for the faint hum of the refrigerator. And somewhere down the hall, the steady, peaceful breathing of a boy who still believed everyone would come next year. The morning after Noah's birthday felt heavier than usual. The sun came through the curtains, warm and golden, but the house carried the silence of something broken. The decorations still hung limply from the ceiling. Blue balloons half deflated. Bits of ribbon scattered across the floor like echoes of a party that never happened. Emily stood in the kitchen, her coffee untouched, staring at the leftover cake on the counter. She'd covered it with foil the night before, telling herself maybe someone would stop by late, maybe her mother would call. But nothing. Not even a text saying sorry. Her phone buzzed, and for a heartbeat her chest lifted. She grabbed it quickly. Spam message. She put the phone down. The hope that had flickered in her eyes faded out just as quickly. From the hallway, Noah's small footsteps padded toward her. His hair stuck out in all directions, and he was clutching the toy car Mrs. Dawson had given him. "Good morning, Mom." "Morning, sweetheart," she said, forcing a smile. "Sleep well?" He nodded. "Yeah, I had a dream everyone came. Grandma brought a big present, and Aunt Lily made cupcakes." Emily's heart twisted. That sounds like a really nice dream. He smiled, satisfied, and went to sit on the floor, driving his toy car around the legs of the dining table. He hummed to himself, innocent, unaware of how deep the rejection had cut his mother. When he wasn't looking, Emily opened her phone again and scrolled through the family group chat. The last message was hers, sent 2 days ago. "Don't forget Noah's party today at 12. He'd love to see everyone." It had 2 blue ticks. Seen by everyone. Ignored by everyone. She clicked on her mother's chat separately, message after message from previous months, all one-sided. Photos of Noah's school projects, updates about his piano class, little moments she thought her family might care about. None had replies. Her chest ached with a familiar weight. Not new, just sharper. They'd always done this. Her parents' attention, their pride, their affection. It all seemed to orbit her younger brother. Ethan, the golden one, the one who could do no wrong. Emily, on the other hand, had been the responsible one. The one who didn't ask for much. The one they forgot was still a daughter. As the clock ticked past 10, she began to clean. Slowly, almost methodically, taking down banners, popping balloons, stacking untouched plates. Each pop sounded like an echo of something final. She folded the banner carefully, even though she knew she'd never use it again. At noon, Noah was drawing at the kitchen table when her phone buzzed again, this time with a new group message. Her family. She hesitated before opening it. The message came from her mother. "Hey everyone! Big news! Ethan's graduation party is in 3 weeks. We're planning something amazing. I'll need everyone to pitch in for the celebration. About $2,500 each should cover food, decor, and the venue. It's a huge milestone for him." A flurry of replies followed almost immediately. Aunt Lily, so proud of him. Dad, of course he deserves the best. Her sister, Clara, count me in. He worked so hard for this. Emily stared at the screen, frozen. $2,500. She scrolled down again as if she'd misread it. But no. Not one mention of Noah. Not one acknowledgement of his birthday from just yesterday. She set the phone down on the counter and let out a small, shaky laugh. It wasn't funny, but it was the kind of laugh that came when there was nothing left to feel. When Noah looked up at her, she smiled quickly to hide it. "Want to go to the park, kiddo?" He nodded eagerly. "Can we bring the leftover cake?" "Sure," she said softly. "Let's bring all of it." They spent the afternoon outside, sitting under the big oak tree near the playground. Noah shared his cake with two neighborhood kids, proud to be the one hosting this time. Watching him laugh, crumbs on his cheeks, Emily felt both warmth and ache. He was happy. That was all that mattered. But somewhere deep inside, a quiet line had been crossed. When they got home, the answering machine light blinked. She pressed play, half dreading what she might hear. Her mother's voice filled the kitchen. "Emily, dear, I hope you saw the message. We'll need your contribution for Ethan's party soon. Everyone's so excited. He's really making us proud." A pause. Then, in that same airy tone, "Oh, and tell Noah I'll send him something when I get a chance." "Been so busy lately." "When I get a chance." Emily turned the machine off and just stood there, her hands trembling slightly. Later that night, she sat at her laptop, typing out a message in the group chat. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard, then stopped. She deleted the words she'd written. Instead, she opened her contacts, found the family group, and quietly tapped "Leave group." It wasn't a dramatic gesture. Just a quiet one, like closing a door that had stayed open too long. In the dim glow of the living room, she looked at the table where the birthday cake had sat, and whispered under her breath, "They don't get to hurt him again." Then she turned off her phone, poured herself a glass of water, and sat in silence, the kind that didn't ache anymore, but instead began to feel like peace. 3 days passed, but the sting of her mother's voicemail hadn't dulled. Emily replayed it once in her mind every morning, not because she wanted to, but because it clung to her like a shadow. "We'll need your contribution for Ethan's party soon." Everyone's so excited! Every word dripped with entitlement, with the unspoken assumption that she would give again, like she always had. She sat at her small kitchen table that night, the same one still bearing faint traces of blue frosting. Her laptop glowed in the dark, and on the screen sat the family group photo from 3 years ago. Ethan in the center, cap tilted, parents beaming. Emily stood at the edge of the frame, holding Noah, who was only 5 then, his face half turned away. She stared at it for a long moment, her stomach twisting. "Mom?" Noah's sleepy voice drifted from down the hall. "Can you read me a story?" Emily blinked out of her thoughts and smiled gently. "Of course, sweetheart." "Which one?" "The one with the dragon who learns how to roar?" "Perfect choice." After tucking him in and reading the story until his eyelids drooped shut, she lingered beside his bed. His small hand rested on the stuffed dinosaur he'd named Captain Chomp. The innocence on his face made something inside her tighten. That quiet, burning ache of wanting to protect him from every cruelty the world could offer, especially from the ones who should have loved him first. When she returned to the kitchen, her phone was lit up with new messages. "Mom, don't forget about Ethan's graduation fund. I need your share by next week so we can book the venue, Clara." "Emily, we're counting on you. You make good money now, right? We all need to pitch in equally, Dad. This is family. Don't make things awkward." Emily stared at the screen, her jaw tightening. Family. Where was that family when Noah waited by the window with his party hat on? When she worked double shifts to pay for her mother's surgery? When she lent Ethan $800 during his second semester, money he never returned, because "you're my big sister, you understand?" Her mind spiraled back to all the years she'd been the fixer, the reliable one. The time Ethan crashed her car and her parents made her feel guilty for being upset. The time her mom forgot her birthday completely, then brushed it off with, "You know how busy I am." The countless holidays where she was expected to bring gifts. Food and smiles, but never received a thank you in return. And still, she forgave. Every time. But that night, something shifted. The silence of Noah's birthday, the empty driveway, the untouched cake had created a crack in her patience. And now it was splitting wide open. Her best friend Lydia called just then, her voice warm and steady. "Hey, Em, you okay?" "You sound off lately," Emily hesitated. They ignored Noah's birthday, completely. Not one of them came. There was a pause. Then Lydia sighed softly. "I'm so sorry." "That's cruel, Em." They didn't just forget, Emily said, her voice trembling between anger and exhaustion. They chose not to come. And now they want $2,500 for Ethan's graduation. Lydia let out a low whistle. $2,500? Are they out of their minds? I don't know if I should say something or just... Her voice trailed off. Emily, Lydia said gently, you've spent your whole life proving yourself to people who don't care if you bleed for them. Maybe it's time to stop. Emily sat in silence, tears stinging her eyes. Not of sadness this time, but release. You think I'm being petty? No, Lydia said. I think you're finally waking up. After they hung up, Emily sat back, staring at the dark window. Her reflection looked back at her. Tired, yes, but sharper somehow. Stronger. She opened her photo gallery and scrolled until she found the pictures she'd taken at Noah's party. The cake, the empty chairs, the untouched goodie bags. And in one photo, Noah standing in front of the happy birthday banner, holding his slice of cake and smiling bravely, even though his eyes looked unsure. Emily's hand clenched around the phone. For years. She'd let guilt dictate her choices. Guilt for saying no. Guilt for standing up for herself. But that guilt had only ever benefited them. Her kindness had turned into their convenience, not anymore. She opened her banking app and hovered over her mother's name in the transfer list, but didn't type an amount yet. She wanted the gesture to mean something, not in anger, but in clarity. Then, for the first time in her life, Emily whispered aloud the truth she had avoided for decades. They don't love me unless I'm useful. The words hung in the air, raw, but freeing. She looked around her small apartment, the one she'd built without any of their help. Every picture on the walls, every memory inside it was hers and Noah's, imperfect, but real, and she realized she didn't owe anyone $2,500. She owed her son peace. The decision came quietly, but powerfully, like the click of a lock sliding into place. Tomorrow, she'd send her family something. Not what they wanted, but exactly what they deserved. The next morning arrived wrapped in stillness. The kind of stillness that came not from peace, but from resolve. Emily woke before sunrise. The world outside her window was gray and soft, the city not yet awake. She moved quietly through the apartment, careful not to wake Noah, who was still fast asleep, his small body curled beneath his dinosaur blanket. She brewed coffee and sat at the kitchen table, her phone in front of her, the same table that had witnessed tears, laughter, and disappointment. But this time something was different. She wasn't dreading the day. She was preparing for it. For once, her thoughts weren't clouded with guilt or fear of what her mother might say. There was only a clear, calm certainty. She'd made up her mind. She opened her banking app, the faint blue light illuminating her face. Her mother's name sat at the top of her recent transfers list, a painful reminder of all the times she'd sent money in emergencies that never quite felt like emergencies. She typed in the amount, 10 son. It almost looked absurd sitting there on the screen like a joke. But to her, it was perfect, not because it was petty, but because it was honest. It represented exactly what their care for her and Noah had been worth, almost nothing. She took a deep breath and added a note to the transfer. For Ethan's graduation, I hope it means as much to him as Noah's birthday meant to you. She hit send. For a moment, she just sat there, staring at the confirmation message. It didn't feel like revenge. It felt like release. The coffee had gone cold by the time her phone started buzzing. First one message, then 3, then 10. Mom. Emily, what is this supposed to mean? Clara, you sent $10? Are you kidding me? Are you trying to humiliate us? Dad, this isn't funny, Emily. Your mother is upset. And then Ethan's message appeared, short, defensive, and full of that same self-assured tone he'd always had. If you have a problem with Mom, take it up with her. Don't drag me into it. Emily didn't respond. She placed the phone face down on the table and exhaled. A few minutes later, Noah wandered in, his hair a soft mess, rubbing his eyes. Morning, Mom, what's for breakfast? She smiled. How about pancakes? Extra syrup? His eyes lit up. Yes. As she cooked, she hummed to herself, something she hadn't done in weeks. The smell of butter and vanilla filled the air, and Noah sat at the table drawing another picture of his toy car, humming along. When the pancakes were ready, she slid a plate in front of him. Here you go, kiddo. Thanks, Mom, he said, already drowning them in syrup. While he ate, her phone buzzed again, this time a call. Mom. She hesitated, then answered. Emily. Her mother's voice came sharp and brittle. What on earth was that message supposed to mean? Emily's tone was calm. It meant exactly what it said. You sent $10. Do you know how that looks? To your brother? To the rest of the family? Emily leaned against the counter, her voice steady. I know exactly how it looks. About the same as an empty chair at your grandson's birthday party? There was a pause, a long one. She could hear her mother exhale on the other end. That's not fair, her mother said finally. We were busy. You know how things are. No, Mom, Emily interrupted quietly. I know how you are. You had time to plan a graduation party 3 weeks early, but not 2 hours to see your grandson turn 8. Her mother's voice hardened. You're being dramatic. Maybe, Emily said. But at least I'm being honest. She hung up before her mother could reply. The silence that followed wasn't empty. It was powerful. It filled the room like oxygen after years of holding her breath. Noah looked up from his plate. Everything okay? She smiled at him. Everything's perfect. After breakfast, she took him out for ice cream, even though it was barely 10 in the morning. They sat on a park bench, Noah giggling as he tried to catch melting drips with his tongue. Emily watched him, sunlight catching in his hair, and felt something she hadn't in a long time. Peace. Her phone buzzed again, but she didn't look. Not once. She didn't owe anyone that power anymore. Later that afternoon, Lydia called. So, you did it? Emily laughed softly. I did. And? They're furious, Lydia laughed too. Good, they deserve it. Emily's tone softened. It's strange. I thought I'd feel guilty, but I don't. I just feel done. Lydia paused, then said warmly, You're not done. You're just beginning to live without asking permission. That night, as the sun set outside her window, Emily packed away the last of the birthday decorations. She kept one, a small blue balloon that had deflated but still held its shape. She tied it to Noah's nightstand while he slept. When she turned off his lamp, she glanced once more at her phone, still buzzing with unread messages. She smiled, slid it into a drawer, and whispered to herself, They'll never control me again. The screen went dark, and for the first time in years, so did the noise of her family's expectations. By the next morning, Emily's quiet act of defiance had turned into a storm she hadn't expected. Not because she regretted it, but because of how fast word spread. Her family had always thrived on appearances. For them, reputation wasn't just important, it was oxygen. So when Emily's $10 transfer message became the subject of whispered family group chats, side calls, and carefully worded accusations, she knew she had officially broken their unspoken rule, never make the truth public. The first call came from her sister, Clara. Emily, what are you doing? She demanded, her voice tight with restrained outrage. Mom's in tears. Dad's embarrassed. You humiliated them in front of everyone. Emily stirred her coffee slowly, unbothered. I didn't humiliate anyone. I just sent what I could afford, remember? Don't play smart, Clara snapped. You know exactly what you were implying with that message. I was implying, Emily said calmly, that my son's birthday didn't matter to any of you. But somehow Ethan's graduation does. There was a silence. Then Clara sighed. You always twist things to make yourself the victim. Emily smiled faintly. Funny. I used to believe that too. She ended the call before Clara could respond. Minutes later, her phone pinged again, this time with notifications from Facebook. Her mother had posted photos from Ethan's graduation gala planning session. The captions read, So proud of our son. Hard work pays off. Some family members might not understand the value of support, but we do. Hundreds of likes, dozens of comments. Emily didn't respond. She didn't even scroll. She'd spent too many years feeding that same toxic cycle, caring what they thought, letting guilt dictate her silence. Not anymore. But by noon, something unexpected happened. Her cousin Mia, someone she hadn't spoken to in years, sent a private message. "Hey, Em, I just saw what happened. I just wanted to say, I get it. You're not wrong. They did the same to me last Christmas. Pretended they forgot, then asked for money 2 days later. Good for you for standing your ground." Emily blinked at the message, then smiled. A small, grateful smile. And then another message came. This time from her aunt, her mother's older sister. "Emily, I shouldn't say this, but I'm proud of you. I wish I'd had your courage years ago. You did what the rest of us never dared to." Her throat tightened. For the first time in years, she didn't feel completely alone in her hurt. Still, the backlash grew. Her father left her a voicemail, stern, distant. "Emily, you've embarrassed this family. You owe your brother and your mother an apology. We all make sacrifices for each other. That's what family means." Emily replayed that part twice. Sacrifices for each other? She laughed bitterly. Except the sacrifices only ever went one way. By that evening, her inbox was a battlefield, half of her. Relatives scolding her for being ungrateful, the other half quietly applauding her for finally saying what they all wished they could. But amid the noise came one message that stopped her cold. It was from Ethan. "Emily, I didn't know about Noah's birthday. Mom said you didn't invite anyone." Her heart clenched. The lie was almost elegant in its cruelty. "That's not true," she typed back. "I sent the invites. Everyone read them." A few minutes passed. Then his reply appeared. "I don't know what to say. I didn't mean to hurt you. I can't get in the middle of Mom and you." Emily stared at the screen. For once, she didn't feel anger, just exhaustion. "I'm not asking you to," she wrote. "Just know Noah looked up to you, and he waited by the window all day." No reply came after that. That night, Emily sat on her couch with a cup of tea, scrolling through her old photos. Not to relive the pain, but to finally let it go. Picture after picture showed her doing everything she could to keep that family close, hosting dinners, remembering birthdays, sending gifts. And yet, each image now felt hollow, like a scene from a play where she'd been the only one who didn't know it was scripted. Her phone buzzed again. This time it was Lydia. "You're trending," Lydia said, laughing softly. "Half your extended family's fighting on Facebook," Emily chuckled. "Let them. Maybe they'll finally realize I'm not their doormat anymore." "Good," Lydia said. "You sound lighter." "I am," Emily admitted, glancing toward Noah's bedroom door. "He's sleeping peacefully. That's all that matters now." After the call ended, she looked at her reflection in the dark window. For years, she'd defined herself by how her family treated her, by how small she could make herself to fit their comfort. But now she saw something else. Strength. Peace. And a woman who, for the first time, had drawn a line that no guilt could erase. Her phone buzzed one last time that night. A message from Ethan. "I'll make it up to Noah. Someday." Emily didn't answer. Not yet. She just set the phone down, closed her eyes, and whispered, "Someday better come with honesty." Then she turned off the lights. The room filled with quiet. Not loneliness this time, but something that felt dangerously close to freedom. A week passed since Emily's quiet rebellion, the $10 that spoke louder than any confrontation ever could. The family group chat had gone eerily silent. No one dared bring up the incident anymore, not even her mother. They had done what they always did when control slipped from their hands. They retreated, regrouped, and pretended nothing had happened. But for Emily, something had changed, deeply, irreversibly. That morning, sunlight streamed through her kitchen window as Noah sat at the table, his face sticky with syrup and laughter. He was talking about dinosaurs again, his favorite topic. For the first time in months, Emily didn't have that heavy, anxious knot in her stomach. She didn't care if her phone buzzed or if someone in the family had posted another performative photo. She was present. Truly present. After breakfast, she and Noah headed to the park. The air was crisp, golden leaves tumbling across the grass. She watched him run toward the swings, his laughter echoing through the quiet morning. A woman nearby smiled at her. "He's got your smile," she said. Emily smiled back. "Yeah, he's got everything that's good in me." That small exchange, that simple acknowledgement, it warmed her more than any hollow praise her family had ever offered. Later, as they packed up to leave, her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Hi, Emily, it's Ethan. I was wondering if I could come by for a bit." "There's something I want to say as in person," she froze. Part of her wanted to ignore it. Another part, the softer, braver part, whispered that maybe, just maybe, this was the closure she hadn't realized she wanted. "Sure," she typed back after a pause. "After 5. When the knock came that evening, Emily opened the door to find Ethan standing there, awkward, holding a paper bag. His usually confident demeanor was replaced by something unsure, even nervous. "Hey," he said quietly. "I brought something." Inside the bag was a small blue box. When Emily opened it, she found a Lego dinosaur set, the same one Noah had circled in a catalog weeks ago, but that she hadn't been able to afford. "It's for him," Ethan said, scratching the back of his neck. "I thought maybe I could build it with him, if that's okay." Emily stared at the box for a moment before nodding slowly. "He'll love that." When Noah saw his uncle, his eyes lit up. "Ethan, you came!" They sat together on the floor, carefully snapping colorful pieces into place. Emily watched from the kitchen, her heart swelling and aching all at once. Ethan laughed when Noah accidentally stuck a piece in the wrong spot, gently correcting him. It was a simple human moment, one that felt like sunlight breaking through years of overcast skies. When Noah finally ran off to show off his finished dinosaur, Ethan turned to Emily. "I didn't know," he said softly. "About the party. Mom told us you didn't invite anyone. I swear I would have come." Emily exhaled slowly. "I know. That's what hurt the most. How easy it was for her to twist it, and for all of you to believe her." He looked down, guilt shadowing his expression. "I should have known better. You've always been the one holding everyone together. I guess I just never saw how much that cost you." For the first time in years, Emily didn't cry when someone from her family apologized. She simply nodded, her voice calm. "I'm not angry anymore, Ethan. I just stopped expecting fairness, and that made me free." He nodded slowly, eyes glistening. "You're stronger than any of us ever were." When he left that night, Emily stood by the door, watching as his car disappeared down the street. There was no false hope, no illusion that everything would magically return to normal. But there was something better. Truth. The next morning, she took Noah to the community center for his art class. While waiting, she signed up for something herself, an evening course in digital design. It was something she'd always wanted to do, but never had time for. That evening, she opened her laptop, designing small digital prints she planned to sell online. She laughed softly to herself when Noah leaned over her shoulder and said, "Can I help, Mom?" "Always," she whispered, kissing his hair. Weeks turned into months. Emily's prints sold surprisingly well, and she started getting custom requests. With every sale, every happy customer, she felt a sense of self-worth that no family validation could have ever matched. Her phone still pinged occasionally. Photos of family gatherings she wasn't invited to. Messages she no longer felt compelled to answer. But instead of feeling pain, she felt peace. One Sunday morning, she found a small envelope in her mailbox. Inside was a photo, Ethan and Noah at the park, smiling, and a note that said, "Thanks for giving me another chance. You were right, honesty does matter. Love, Ethan." Emily smiled, placing the photo on her fridge next to Noah's crayon drawings. As sunlight spilled into her kitchen, she brewed coffee, humming softly. For the first time in a long time, she realized she wasn't waiting for anyone to see her worth. She knew it now, fully, quietly, unshakably. Her life wasn't perfect. It wasn't dramatic or filled with applause. But it was hers, built not from family approval, but from strength, boundaries, and love that ran deep and true. She looked at Noah playing with his dinosaur and whispered with a smile, "We're going to be just fine, kiddo. More than fine." And as she watched the sunlight dance across the room, Emily knew that peace, not revenge, not validation, had been the real victory all along.